Hi everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe. As always, I hope everybody is safe and well. Here we are, part 2 of Build the Interstellar Ranger from Mobius. As I mentioned in the first part, this is a kit that has been out for several years. I've built several of them, but I've given them all away, and this is time for me to actually do one for myself. So, we are continuing on. Where are we? Just to catch up, as you know, we installed the top piece of the Ranger with our photo etch from Paragraphics, and that went in really well, and we talked about how to get that nice and flush to the model. That's been all sanded and cleaned up now, and that's going to be ready for primer. I am on the bottom of the ship. I made the painful decision to go ahead and install the vents to the bottom of the ship, and that required cutting it out, which I've done. Used the same procedure that I did on the top piece. However, I added a secret weapon here to this, and it actually improved my ability to get the bottom done. The plastic on the bottom of this kit is actually a little thicker than the top, it appears in places. And so what I've used is the JLC cutter. Now this is available online or from quality hobby stores online. It is phenomenal. It comes with 3 or 4 different blades, and it is incredibly precise and very easy to use, and it gets into very difficult places, and you can cut some incredibly precision lines with it. So that's what I used, and then obviously I cleaned it up with some files and a couple of sanding sticks, and we talked about those last time, the flory sticks. And we installed that the same way we did the top. We used super glue all the way around, and it's bonded quite nicely. I'm in the process now of putting these louvers in. The thing about these louvers is they are very, very delicate. And if you've never done this kind of work before, you may want to skip this altogether and not install the bottom piece. But if you're brave and you want to take it to another level, go ahead and do it. Now, take your time. You'll see the scored lines are very deep. These lines in the kit are very, very deep to begin with. So you have a really nice built-in plan, as it were, for the cut marks. I used a pencil, a little graphite pencil, to go around and just highlight those. As always, I used my little Dremel tool to cut in as we do. I get within 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little less. Remove that piece, and then with my JBL saw, I scored and chewed away at it and carefully removed it. And you'll find if you get the scores deep enough, and you can with that razor blade, they'll just snap out, and you get very clean lines, and then you can just do a little quick cleanup with your sanding stick. And here we are, dropped it in nice and flush, so there's no problems there. Any gappage that you have around it, just fill it in with a little CA glue and some zap kicker, and that'll harden. When that gets nice and dry, we can go ahead and just clean that up with a little acetone and some sanding sticks, and that'll be perfectly ready to go. Now, since this is the bottom of the craft, you're probably not going to really see this, but I'll know it's there, and it's that classic example of you do the work because the detail is important to you, and it's part of the fun and improving your skills. Because once you get brave enough to start doing things like this, you'll realize that there's not an awful lot you can't tackle in terms of fixing, repairing, or repositioning something. But anyway, this is in now, and I'm putting in the louvers. When you put these louvers in, be extra careful. They are so delicate, and they will snap on you. So take your time and be careful. And I'm in the process of just cleaning up these last couple, which I'm going to install right now. Now, you do, when you cut these off of the sprues, you're going to get some little extra tabs. Now, they will tell you sometimes you can use a file and you can gently remove those tabs. Now, I find that sometimes that doesn't work very well, and you could spend the rest of your life trying to get some of the extra thick tabs on here. See, I just bent that. You've got to be really careful. This is very flimsy. But here's what I've got. Now, if you promise me you're going to be extra careful and take your time, use a Dremel. This is the little handheld 73. It's not that powerful, but just with a regular sanding, tool on it, you can pick up some of these little tabs and nick them right off. And so that's what I've been doing, and they come off quite nicely. And then once you've done that, you're ready to install. And so you'll see that there are little, I'll point it out actually. Let me get you closer, up close and personal here with PhilCam so that we can see this. Here we go. So you can see on this particular model that I'm going to point out these little indentations. And these little indentations right here are where your vents are they're gonna drop into. And they're going to actually just sort of drop on top of them. Of course, if I have the right one, that would be helpful. You're going to drop these right on like that, and you can see, and then you line that up, and then just carefully with a little bit of medium viscosity glue, just a little dab and then a quick kick, that'll hold beautifully, and you'll be in great shape. So I've got a couple of those to do. I'm not going to do them on camera because I don't think you want to see a grown man cry. And you do a lot of that if you're not careful with these. And so I'll do that off camera. But one of the things I wanted to share with you is once these louvers are in, you get this, you'll get this really nice effect. And I'll open the louvers up quite a bit. But then there's nothing behind it. So what I've gone and done is I have cut a piece of plastic. This is probably about 1 mil, and what I did was I took the actual shape of the louvers themselves and I made it 1/4 inch bigger all the way around, cut myself a piece like that, and then I went to a hardware store and I got some screen patch. They come in little packs and you get 5 or 6 pieces in a pack. Very handy for your kits. And what I've done with that is I cut that the same size basically as the louvers. That will lay down over the vents on the back side like such. And then my piece of plastic, which will be painted black, I'll leave the mesh silver. That will just sort of drop on top of that. Now this is one of those places where I probably will use some JB Weld and sort of just plop it around the edges, clamp it and let it dry. And then what you'll get is this really fun effect. Now it's in white right now, it's not in black, but we're all adults here, so we can all imagine, right? And let me put PhilCam on. PhilCam, it's the same thing. And you can see what that looks like behind. Now obviously that's white right now, but it's going to be black. And once that's all cleaned up, that should look pretty nice. Now, I can't take credit for this idea. Lou Del Maso actually taught me, or I watched one of his videos years ago. He did this years ago, and did the same thing. It's not Canon, it wasn't like that, but it is very, I think it adds a certain level of interest to this. And once this is all blacked and we've aged it and weathered it and we've done all of our streaking and our scorching, it's going to look really cool. And it just adds a little interest to the bottom of the kit. So what I'm going to do now is put those louvers in. I've got 2 more to install. I'll do that. I'll get this painted up so that we can glue that in, and then we'll talk about priming this kit. So that's what's coming up next. So through the magic of time warp, I have installed all of the louver doors on this kit, but I deliberately left one hanging for you to see because that is potentially a problem with these. And you're going to have to be patient, and more than likely it might require just a little bit of a touch-up of glue. So what I'm going to do is just tack this down one more time. Now this could happen 4 or 5 times, guys, so don't get frustrated. It's very easy to get frustrated, believe me. I've had my fair share of disasters with this. You've just got to take your time and be slow, go slow with it, and you'll get a result. Now, give these let these dry overnight, which is what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to clean this up, just a light sanding and light scuffing. Again, if there are any gappage issues, I'll clean those up with a little black tulip. We've talked about that. I'll go around the outside of this just to sort of do a little light blocking, but it shouldn't need it. Now again, we're not lighting this model, so it's not the end of the world, but it's nice for everything to look finished and clean. And I can see just by looking at this that there's a couple of pinprick holes that I need to go around and clean up. Now, once you get these louvers into the position that you want, we're going to prime this thing, and after we've primed it, we're going to let it dry thoroughly, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Now, I want to talk a little bit about primers because obviously we're all told to wash these kits thoroughly to remove the resin. Now, a lot of the or the release agents. Now, a lot of the older kits that's true with, but honestly, guys, I haven't found too much of an issue in older kits. But as a precautionary measure, always just wash everything down with a little soapy water. Now, when everything is dry and clean and you're at this stage, you want to talk about priming. Now, because I'm using photo etch and plastic together and there are large sections, I've decided I'm going to actually go with the Vallejo surface primer. Now, this is not cheap. I know there's a lot of other surface primers. You can just prime it with some good quality Duplo. Duplicolor is good. You don't need to do this. So if you would rather go with a regular primer, gray primer from your hobby store or from your Home Depot, go ahead, it's fine. I'm just using this because I happen to like the properties in it. It's also very, very good on metal as well as plastic. It has good adhesion. It's ready to airbrush. You just give it a quick shake, drop it in your airbrush, 20 psi, it's ready to go. And a couple of coats of this and you're going to be in great shape. The reason why I like the gray and not a white, for instance, is because if you're painting with a white or let's say even a black, it tends to they tend to hide things, not reveal things, and that's what priming is all about. It's your first sort of coat that you're laying down, and I would recommend that you really want to try to use something gray. Now, when we're ready to paint final coats on this, we're going to go to black first. Before we do anything else. The whole kit is going to get painted in black. Now the reason for that is because if we look at some production stills from the original shooting miniature, or even if you've had an opportunity to go to a museum, say in Washington DC, we have one here in Los Angeles, a space shuttle, you will see all of the scorch marks. The black is not really a black. It takes on a sort of gray property, and then where it scorches, it starts to even get a little white, and there's some other funky colors in there as well. It's not a perfect property, but if you go ahead and lay down a coat of black before you start putting whites on, you're really going to like what you get in terms of a finish, and then weathering on top of that, and you're going to get a very convincing model. And that's part of the fun of all of this, really, is to play with color and light and shade and duplicate all of those things. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now. I'm going to give this a quick coat of primer, and then we'll take a look and see what we've got. Okay, so here we are back with our first primer coat. Is on everything, and it's still a little tacky, but that's okay because this will be the first of a few, so I'm not too worried about it. We weren't looking for perfection here, actually. We were just looking for what work we have to do now, and that's what I really love about primer coats. Again, this is a little tacky, so I'm going to be careful how I handle it, but what's exciting about this is now you start to see a lot of the detail. The frames around these windows just punch beautifully, and I'm very happy about that. My little imperfections here, and let me show you these on PhilCam because I think it's worth it. This is sort of part of the learning process for all of us, especially me, because trying to figure out just exactly. Come on, PhilCam. There we go. Okay, we're up and running. So what I wanted to show you was these lines here that just pop on the gray. I've got a little where it's sort of tacked together. You can see that I've got a lot of cleanup to do there, and that's a good thing. For the most part, I'm pretty happy about this. And models are meant to be looked at from a few feet away, you know, not with a camera right up your backside. And a lot of guys today are really pushing the envelope in terms of getting the camera right up in there, you know, for detail. But that's not how the human eye sees a model, and that's not how it should be scrutinized. But this is a very important step because I really wanted to amplify the fact that all of this detail here is something you don't see when you are in your basic stage, and now you see it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cleaning these up, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to be just gently sanding this with some files, and then just getting this as clean as I possibly can. And then if I've got any other scratches and imperfections that warrant it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Mr. Surfacer. Now, I love this product. You can thin this down with lacquer thinner, and you can just paint it on. It's basically a thick paint, but what it'll do is it'll lay in all of the scratches and surface marks, and it'll blend them out nicely. And then when you do your final primer coat with a light sanding, and then you start to paint, you should be in great shape. It's good for seams as well. There it is. It's Mr. Surfacer, and it comes in various sort of grit values. This is 1200. 500 is also excellent as well. So there it is. Everything is primed. The louvers are also primed. Interestingly enough, my backside is a little cleaner than my front side. And that's okay, because that's what this is all about. This is the priming phase. So there's where we will leave it for this episode. We've looked at all of the photo etch so far. We've primed the model for the first time to look at our imperfections. Now we're going to go in and clean these up. And there's no way around it, guys. It's just a lot of delicate sanding, using your files, using your sanding sticks, using your light sponges, whatever you are comfortable with on your sanding. Now you do have to be careful. Don't go in there with a Dremel, guys, because you'll gouge this surface and you'll take out a lot of the detail on the photo etch. So verboten, don't use motor tools. This is something you've got to do by hand. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of that. So we'll clean all of this up, and the next time we get together, we're going to talk about putting in the windows. We'll talk about the window tinting that we're going to use to put on over our windows to give you that really nice kind of out of this world look. It should be pretty cool. If I think we need it, I might put in a little bit of detail, just some plastic card and shapes that I'll paint up and glue. Nothing special, but just some detail so you can see a hint of what might be the control surfaces or the hint of what might be the floor. You'll just see shadows of it through the window, but it might be pretty cool. But we'll take a look at that when we're done. The other thing I wanted to show you before we close is I've not primed this yet, and there's a reason for that. Now let me get this on PhilCam for you so you can see what I've got here. This is the rear hatch. This is the last piece of the photo etch. All of the photo etch is in, and that's looking pretty nifty. What I did do was I added the handle to the bottom of the door, and I did that out of a little bit of sprue I found in my spare parts box. The reason for that is when you look at the production photos, that handle is a little more girth, has a little more girth to it than what is supplied in the photo etch kit, but that's okay. But everything else went in there really quite well. Now I know some people have a little bit of trouble with this, and candidly sometimes I do. But the sprue gods or the photo etch gods, whatever you prefer, were with me this time around, and we were able to get everything in quite nicely. So this will get primed once I just decide whether or not I'm going to put any more detail in this. I haven't decided, but I might put one or two more little cables, just little cables, just to add a little bit of extra punch to it, but we'll see. A good way to know whether or not you need anything, of course, is to prime it. But I wanted to leave it like this just to talk about it so we could see what your options could possibly be. So there we are. We're going to start to work on the cleanup. The next time we get together, as I said, we're going to put on our base coat of black after we've given it one more coat of primer. We'll do that after we've cleaned up these seams. Then I said, as I said, we'll go to our coat of black, and that will be the base for everything else that will come together. And then we'll start assembling this puppy. So anyway, a lot of fun. It's coming together. This is a really fun kit. And as I said earlier, one of the big kicks I get out of it is being able to weather it and age it and make it look like it's been flying through space. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Perhaps in the next episode or maybe the one after that to finish it all up. But here we go. We're getting there. We're moving right along. Lots of fun. I hope this was helpful and enjoyable. Be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.